Gaslighting is one of the most dangerous and hidden forms of psychological abuse. It doesn't leave bruises, but it erodes reality slowly, subtly, and methodically. In this video, we uncover how gaslighting works and why it's so destructive. Gaslighting isn't just a buzzword. It's a deep psychological manipulation tactic that distorts a person's perception of reality. The term gaslighting comes from the 1944 movie Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into thinking she's going insane by dimming the lights and then denying it ever happened. But in real life, gaslighting is more insidious. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in slowly, leaving the victim confused, uncertain, and constantly second-guessing their own thoughts and feelings. So, how does it start? Usually, it begins with subtle comments that seem harmless. A manipulator might say, "Are you sure you remember that right?" Or, "You're too sensitive." At first, these comments may seem like minor disagreements or even concern, but over time, they become a pattern, a methodical erosion of confidence. The goal of gaslighting is control. By making the victim doubt their own mind, the gaslighter positions themselves as the only source of truth. There are many forms gaslighting can take. One common tactic is denial, denying things that happened, even when there's evidence. Another tactic is trivializing, minimizing someone's feelings to make them feel irrational. For example, saying, "You're overreacting," when the victim is expressing a valid concern. Gaslighters also use diversion, changing the subject or questioning the victim's credibility to avoid accountability. And then there's projection, accusing the victim of the very things the gaslighter is doing. If the manipulator is lying, they might accuse the victim of being dishonest. These tactics chip away at a person's sense of self. Over time, the victim becomes increasingly dependent on the gaslighter for validation, unable to trust their own judgment. Let's be clear, gaslighting is not just about lying. It's about rewriting reality. It's about convincing someone that their truth isn't real. And it doesn't always happen in romantic relationships. Gaslighting can occur in workplaces, families, friendships, even in public discourse and politics. In a workplace, a manager might say, "I never promised you that promotion," when emails prove otherwise. In families, a parent might say, "That never happened," to deny abuse. The psychological damage is immense. Victims may feel isolated, anxious, depressed, or even question their sanity. Gaslighting also makes it incredibly hard to leave an abusive relationship. The victim may not even realize they're being abused. They've been conditioned to believe they're the problem. What makes gaslighting so dangerous is that it undermines reality itself. It makes the victim feel like they can't trust their own mind. And that's a terrifying place to be. Gaslighters often follow a predictable cycle. It usually starts with idealization, showering the victim with praise, affection, or charm. This stage creates an emotional bond and trust. The victim feels special, wanted, even lucky. But it's a setup. Then comes the devaluation. The compliments stop. The criticisms start. Subtle jabs replace support. You're imagining things. "That's not what I said. You're just being dramatic." The manipulator begins to chip away at the victim's self-worth, often in small daily moments that build over time. The final stage is discarding, emotionally withdrawing, ghosting, or even blaming the victim entirely for the relationship breakdown. But here's the cruel twist. Sometimes the cycle restarts. After discard, the manipulator may return with kindness or apologies, restarting the idealization phase. This is known as hoovering, a way to suck the victim back into the dynamic. It confuses them even further. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe things will change. Gaslighting works because it targets the mind's need for consistency. Our brains want to believe that the people close to us care about us. When that trust is violated repeatedly, the mind scrambles for stability, even if that means accepting the manipulator's version of reality. Victims may begin to repeat the gaslighter's words. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I do remember it wrong. Self-doubt becomes internalized, and the gaslighter's voice becomes the victim's own inner critic. The longer gaslighting continues, the harder it becomes to escape. It can lead to long-term emotional trauma, including anxiety, panic attacks, and even post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. In some cases, gaslighting is used intentionally by narcissists or abusers, but in others, it can stem from insecurity or a learned behavior passed through generations. It's important to understand that not every disagreement or mistake is gaslighting. The difference is in the pattern, the intent, and the psychological damage it causes. You may also notice that you've stopped sharing your thoughts or feelings out of fear of being dismissed or ridiculed. If you feel confused about your own reality, that's a major red flag. Trust that feeling. Confusion is often a sign of manipulation. What can you do if you're being gaslit? The first step is awareness. Naming the abuse is powerful. It puts the control back in your hands. Start documenting interactions. Write down what was said, how it made you feel, and any inconsistencies. Speak to people you trust, friends, family, or a therapist. Outside perspectives help validate your experience. Most importantly, set boundaries. You have the right to protect your reality and your emotional safety. Gaslighting doesn't just affect individuals, it can be weaponized on a societal level. Entire groups can be manipulated into doubting their reality. In politics, leaders may lie repeatedly while accusing the media of spreading falsehoods. Over time, the public may start questioning what's true at all. This tactic erodes trust in information and institutions, creating a population that feels helpless and disoriented. In the workplace, gaslighting can be used by managers to cover their own failures. A boss might say, "You were never assigned that task," even when you were. Over time, employees lose confidence in their own memory, stop speaking up, and become easier to control. In families, generational gaslighting is common. Parents may deny past abuse by saying, "You were always a difficult child," or "You just remember things wrong." This leads to fractured identities. Victims of childhood gaslighting often grow into adults who can't trust themselves or form stable relationships. Religious or cult-like groups may use gaslighting to create a reality where questioning the leader equals betrayal. Dissent is reframed as sin, and obedience is virtue. No matter where it appears, the core of gaslighting is the same: control through confusion. Let's talk about how survivors begin to heal. Healing from gaslighting is not about forgetting, it's about reclaiming your narrative. Therapy is often a crucial step. A good therapist can help you rebuild your internal compass and distinguish your thoughts from the manipulator's voice. Self-care also plays a major role. Reconnecting with hobbies, journaling, or spending time with supportive people can restore a sense of self. It's important to give yourself permission to be angry. Gaslighting robs you of your voice. Anger is a sign you're getting it back. There's no quick fix, but each time you validate your own feelings, each time you choose not to engage with the manipulator, you reclaim power. For those watching this who may have unknowingly gaslit others, it's not too late to change. Awareness is the first step. Gaslighting often stems from fear of losing control, fear of being wrong, fear of rejection. Recognizing this doesn't excuse the behavior, but it can start the process of accountability. Apologize without conditions. Validate the other person's experience. Learn to sit with discomfort instead of denying it. Creating healthy relationships means creating space for different perspectives, even when they're uncomfortable. If you're unsure whether something is gaslighting, ask yourself, is this making me doubt my reality? Is this repeated? Is it about control or care? Gaslighting thrives in silence. Speaking up, setting boundaries, and seeking truth are acts of resistance. You are not alone. Many have been gaslit, many have healed. What was stolen from you, your confidence, clarity, and inner voice, can be reclaimed. Gaslighting changes people. Survivors often describe feeling like they've lost years of their life, like they weren't truly living during the time they were being manipulated. It can feel like your memories were stolen or rewritten, like your entire identity was blurred. But you are not your trauma. What happened to you is not your fault, and healing is possible. Recovering from gaslighting begins with self-trust. Start small by noticing and honoring your emotions without judgment. Learn to say things like, "That hurt me. I remember it differently. I deserve respect." These are powerful statements of reclamation. You don't need permission to feel what you feel, and you don't need someone else to confirm your reality. Gaslighters want you to forget your truth, but every time you stand in it, you rebuild the pieces they tried to tear apart. Education helps too. Learning about psychological manipulation, narcissism, trauma bonding, and emotional abuse can validate your experience and give it context. There's also power in community. Sharing your story with others who understand can break the isolation gaslighting creates. Remember this. Gaslighting is not about you being weak, it's about someone else needing power. But your strength is in your ability to come back, to fight for your reality, your voice, your boundaries. And if you're still in a relationship where gaslighting is happening, know this: you are not obligated to stay in confusion. You deserve clarity. You deserve peace. You deserve to live a life that's grounded in truth, not someone else's version of it. Some people won't like the fact that you're no longer easy to manipulate. Let them be uncomfortable. You are not responsible for their fragility. Your job is not to make others comfortable at the cost of your reality. You're allowed to ask for respect. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to grow. And you have every right to heal in your own time, in your own way. Some days you'll feel strong, other days not so much. That's okay. Healing is not a straight line. Every step you take toward clarity is a step away from manipulation. Every moment you choose self-trust is a form of resistance. So take your power back, one truth at a time, one choice at a time.